Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now November 24th of 2023, and given that the Marvels is still underperforming to this day, and by the way, that's an understatement, it is actually one of the worst box office failures over at Disney, and specifically for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It had the worst opening in MCU history, that is a given fact, and we know that Bob Iger is truly going into tons of damage control, not just about this film, but also about the future of the Marvel Universe, along with the fact of what their current slate of Disney live-action material is going to look like once they actually begin to right-size throughout all of 2024. More on that a little bit later. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. Now, the thing about Brie Larson is that we know that she's another one of those types of actresses that likes to be very self-absorbed, really just holds no boundaries, usually to what she says or what she says about the fans, per se. She keeps pointing the finger at the toxic male demographic for being responsible of tanking the box office for the Marvels. We also know that there's a lot of celebrities that are pointing the finger at fans. We know that one, for example, being Stephen King, finding it very disgraceful that people are celebrating the Marvels failing at the box office, and I think a lot of celebrities have it backwards. It's not per se that the fans are celebrating the failure of this film in isolation. It's more around the lines of the fact that they are hoping that this movie got to such a low point that maybe and just maybe Disney will actually create a turnaround and eventually and finally make proper Marvel material for the fans by fans. So with that being said, what's interesting about what's been going on behind the scenes between Larson and the Disney heads, with the Marvels currently getting worse results at the box office day by day, one major development has to do with the current status of Brie Larson's career at Disney and within the MCU. As it turns out, just recently Brie Larson was dropped from 90% of her projects for both Marvel streaming projects for Disney Plus and future theatrical cameos for Marvel film that are either already announced or planned to be in 2024. Now, the current drama that's been active and rattling between Larson and her team against Disney is that she is preparing to take legal action in some way, shape, or form, and that legal warnings have already been made toward Disney. These arguments come in the wake of Disney dropping Larson from 7 projects, most of which, to be specific, were cameo-based projects, where now only 2 MCU projects remain for Brie Larson that will feature her as Captain Marvel at a minimum level. Now, Larson's argument is that she was actually signed on via a contract for this multi-project deal, like I said before, most of which were cameo-based projects, and that Disney's decision was based on toxic fan feedback, as she suggests, for the Marvels, as Disney begins to embrace new strategies to change the MCU and shift away from Captain Marvel by completely watering down her presence in the current and next phase as well. Now, Larson's argument, reportedly, is that Disney wrongfully fired her from all these roles for Marvel Studios as Captain Marvel and Carol Danvers, and that she did nothing wrong with her PR moves for the Marvels, which would actually, in turn, have nothing against going for her contract and her overall view of things. Brie's agent and manager are already preparing to legal up against Disney. It's gotten to the point that even Kevin Feige of Marvel Studios is signing with Larson and is actually begging the Disney higher-ups to quickly reinstate her roles, or at least the majority of them, which is only creating more tension between both Feige and Iger. Now guys, I'm going to say one thing about this current scenario. I think the fact that there are now growing tensions between Iger and Feige, don't be surprised if, let's say, within the next couple of months, maybe 6 months at most, that there is going to be some kind of a disconnect for Kevin Feige from the MCU. We already know that he's been failing one movie after the other as of late, really not meeting fan expectations and not meeting box office expectations for Disney. Now look, at the same exact time, we know that the Marvel Universe really needs to be completely revamped. This is exactly why Disney is beginning to double down on really kind of trying to find an avenue that's going to satisfy some fans, but at the same exact time, it's not going to work out because they are doubling down on their usage of DEI, everything related to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it's very much a hypocritical and flawed, view and strategy of things, at least by Disney, because it's not genuine, it's not coming from the heart, it's always used purely as an agenda. They pick and choose specifically who they want to be in their films, but they also have a list of those to exclude in specific films. Great example is in Snow White, the 2025 live-action film. Well, Disney's all about DEI, right? Except if you want dwarves in the film, no, that's not going to happen. They're going to throw CGI dwarfs in there. That's what they did. And so that's living proof that the DEI strategy by Disney is 100% hypocritical and it's contradictory in nature. Now, moving onwards, a similar situation to all of this happened after the Marvel's director was fired, Nia Dacosta, after the nightmarish box office performance, and now Nia, has been siding with Kevin Feige as well to take on Disney, with Larson now only holding 2 untitled Marvel projects, both of which will barely use Captain Marvel, and its only purpose is to lay down a specific revelation for the character. Everything else has been shelved, which is creating a legal tension between Larson, Feige, and Iger. 2 of the most important roles that Brie was fired from, as it turns out, was Avengers, Secret Wars, and Fantastic Four. Her Fantastic Four role, surprisingly, was supposed to hold some strong connection to Galactus somehow, and would break from the canon material in the comics. This was Kevin's idea to have Brie inform, as Captain Marvel, the Fantastic Four about the origin of Galactus in a big cameo. Now look, I'm glad that they're excluding her from Fantastic Four, as that movie is going to be a disaster as it is, with full-fledged plans right now moving forward to gender swap the Silver Surfer from a man to a woman. We all know about this, and this is a thing that has been going on behind the scenes at Marvel Studios by Kevin Feige. This is 100% a Kevin Feige idea that was pushed for Fantastic Four that only encouraged Disney to move along with this because they're all about it in the first place. So I know a lot of you guys out there have been very fed up with the current status of Marvel. We ran a couple of polls on Twitter. We ran a couple of suggestions out there about where you think the MCU is going to go. A lot of you actually were split. Some people think it does have the chance to recover. Others really do believe it's doomed, and really that there's no turning back. The point of no return has already emerged with the Marvels. That's how other people feel as well. I, however, feel that you're not going to see a good turnaround, at least for the next 3 to 4 years. We know that 2024 is pretty barren to begin with. You only got Deadpool 3, and everything is resting on that. 2025 is going to be full of controversial MCU releases. Blade, Fantastic Four, just for starters. Those are going to be 2 of the most controversial ones, based on what they're doing with the story. We've talked about that plenty, and we have more to talk about that later in the week, so stay tuned. So overall, guys, I would love to hear your overall take on what's been going on with all the drama between Brie, Kevin, Bob, and more. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.